Today's guest has quite a special story. Most people in Finnish education, I think, know him as the former publishing director of Otava Publishing, where he worked for 14 years in total, with some time in between positions at other places, such as Microsoft Finland and Tammi Publishers, as well as an entrepreneurial venture under Sankila Design, and a couple of board engagements, including as general director of the Worlddidac Association. A year and a couple of months ago, he left the publishing industry and co-founded and started directing Edulyzer, a Finnish EdTech company that collects and analyzes information from various school activities in order to improve learning, comfort, pedagogical well-being, and cooperation. There, his mission is to be part of building school communities in which the potential of everyone involved is visible and appreciated. Wow, what a brave move, Teuvo. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Joni. It's great to be here. It's a long story, it's a long journey, but I'm quite happy to be here right now. And maybe it's so that the curiosity has been always driving me ahead. So maybe we can a little bit open up what I have done during these years.
Definitely, and I want you to start with your story back in the days, maybe from even before Microsoft. But start wherever you feel is relevant, because you have a very interesting story from the corporate world and so on, and even before that, your university studies were also quite interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So I have been studying ICT and mathematics in Jyväskylä University, also physics and statistics, and I came to be a teacher. So I have been teaching in upper secondary school and in high school level 4 years. And then after that, I left to publishing business. But even in school, when I was teaching there, it was the time of beginning of 90s, and it was the time when the computers came to school, and we started to using math type to make the tests in digital format, and that was very, very interesting for all of us. From disk drive you were using for saving those things, and then you went to the classroom. But that was the start, and all the time the curiosity of towards to learning, how you learn, how you can give more possibilities to learners to learn. That's the one thing that I have been looking for all the time. So after that, I came and started to work with Otava first time. So I have been there 3 times totally. And then I was starting as an editor in Otava Publishing, and I was editing about maths and physics mostly. And then after 4 years, I left back to school. So I was in adult education, teaching math and ICT to those who were studying business studies in adult education called Taitotalo. So on that time it was Ami Edu, if I remember correct. And after that I went to a private owned company who was teaching or training different companies to use technology for improve their own workflows. So it's like that was the time when the Adobe stuff went more popular, and the Quark Express was still in use for publishing business, and then we were working with magazines, newspapers, publishing houses, print houses, and advertising agencies. That was a very, very good time for me, because I'm learning a lot what is happening on that area.
And when was that?
That was in the late 90s, like 98. I think that was the time. And we also went to San Francisco a few times to CEPOL seminars. That was one of the biggest seminars on that time. And it was a possibility also to see Bill Gates and Steve Jobs on the same area, talking to each other and thinking about what will be the Microsoft and Apple together. It never really happened, but it was interesting to hear that on live. After that, I came back to Otava, or went back to Otava. I was then as a publishing manager. Then was my time to decide what kind of new learning content we are building up there to the science and maths and biology, geography, and it was very, very interesting. also a very good place to learn a lot, because I met hundreds of authors who were manuscripting the learning materials, and I was in a front row to see how they think about what is the best possible solution for pedagogical improvement for the learning. That was a great time. I still I'm happy that I have had that possibility.
And did you see that you could transfer any knowledge from Microsoft back to Ottawa? Was it a good shift to have the break?
Yeah. I went after that, at being the publishing manager, I went to Microsoft. And that was totally a new world again, because a lot of technology, a lot of helping municipalities to do their work with technology, and also getting a lot of information how Microsoft see the future of the education. That was also a great place to learn a lot. Then after that,
could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think many people like myself don't know really that Microsoft was already then very much into education. And what really was Microsoft planning or thinking about education back then?
It was a lot of thinking about how to use technology to improve the whole school. It was not only the learners, or it was not only the teachers. It's like how could the whole community work better? It's like a smoothly way to save your content, create a new one, and then of course use the same content again and again. Then on that time, I think was the first time when teachers were also talking about the project writing. So you are process writing. So you are writing and writing again the same text, and it will be better and better all the time. So it was a good place to be. I like that.
Great. And because I remember, I usually tell the story that when technology was first introduced in my classroom, I was 12 years old, and we got laptops.
Yeah.
And we had educational games in them. So we actually learned how to touch type very fast, thanks to the technology in the classroom at the time. But then at some point, the technology used in education or in school became outdated at some point and wasn't really helping us pedagogically or productively to learn new things, because back then we didn't have laptops at home. So it was quite revolutionary to have a laptop in the school and that you can use it for educational games. But how have you seen the development, maybe having connections in Microsoft still, and then seeing how the education technology industry has boomed, and then you also, as a publishing director, has been very much in the forefront of looking at what the startups do, and you can tell more about that if you want to. Really, as a pioneer publisher or publishing director, because I've been in contact with many, and most are very careful at doing any kind of innovation and just waiting for legislation to change until they have to, let's say, incorporate some technology. And I think it's a very challenging situation now for publishers in general. So if you can tell us the story a little bit, how you see how that has evolved.
Yeah. Then when I went back to Ottawa to the third time and last so far, so it was a time when everybody was thinking about how to use the technology in learning, and how can you help teachers to teach better, and how they can use technology. And on that time it was also said that almost all schools have already computers. Not exactly one-to-one, not exactly very good connections to web, but still a lot of computers in the classroom, and that was a good start. And then it was also a time when was the first talks about how to develop the learning content that is usable with the computers. And then when I started to think about myself, and it's not me, it's like the team who was working with me, to think about how to change the world a little bit more technology friendly in schools. And it's about content. How can you use content? What does it really mean to content if you use technology? And on that time, I was always looking back what I learned from Microsoft, because I knew what the technology can bring to classrooms, and that was very helpful to think my own thoughts and to share it with the group. And they're creative, so it was easy to how can I implement how to use it. But to be honest, it's not just, okay, let's do learning content in digital format. It doesn't work like that. So first we decided that we will do that. Small parts. And then we decided that we started to looking for a platform to work with. And we started to work with, first we started to work with a platform from Aste, from Finnish company. And then quite soon after that with Glaubi, that was also Finnish company who made a platform where you can use the learning materials. And we just go and started and say, okay, let's try what we can do. And the first thing was that let's do a lot of material. Not very, how can I say, complicated, it was simple, but a lot of those. So it was the year of mass. So somehow like you do a lot of things, and the reason why we did so was that when we can give these materials to teachers to use in their classrooms, we can get feedback. And the feedback will give us a lot of things that what we can next develop. And that was very, very important, because if you just do and think by yourself what to do next, you can get lost quite soon. But we get the feedback from the teachers and from the learners, and we can also do the next versions. So do a lot, then think about the quality and how does it really improve the learning. And then there's, of course, you have to think about how can you do this that the business will go on still very strong. So that was the third one, and I was the lucky one to be with those people who can see the future of digital business in learning and education.
And how did you follow the development from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0? And what kind of impact did that have on the, let's say, content focus?
Okay, I think that the first quite many thought that it's something that you just put on the web or put on the computer. It was not really interactive ones. But quite soon everyone knows that why do you put like a picture of paper to the screen? It doesn't exactly do anything. So if you want to interact, you have to have there a lot of things working when you are also interacting with the things. So you have to have videos, graphics, voices, or audio, and trying to figure out what will be the best for individuals.
Yes. Yeah. And what would be your key learning points from Otava as a publishing director, doing these kind of quite innovative experiments with startups, with technology, having a very strong background? Well, you had background with a company such as Microsoft, so you knew basically what was coming. And now looking at where we are with Microsoft and artificial intelligence and how we might be overflooded with technology, and we might need to go back a little bit in thinking more about why we're using technology. Any lessons learned from, let's say, the publishing industry that you think that this is something we should think about and remember and really push for, instead of going completely digital without content? Because Web 2.0, Web 3.0, and then Education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 means a move towards, let's say, a non-content driven reality where children create their own content completely. And so what would be your key points here that you think that this is still needed?
Big questions you have. So I think that if you want to do something that will improve the learning, don't think about too much about the technology. Think what you have to achieve with the doings. The content, what is the meaning of the content for the learner's point of view? What she or he should learn or we are using it, or we are creating one. And that is the main thing. So pedagogical thinking is the key for everything. I see that so. So I really see that, for example, for me, it was great to be in the atmosphere where the pedagogical background was almost everyone's hands in the publishing house. So it was quite easy to think about what is the meaning of content for learning process. And I think this is still like the valid. It's not has changed. Even though at the same time, now we have to act with each individual with the different styles or different ways, so they can get what they want, not exactly what I want, as it was in 90s.
Yes, that's so important. And also you don't have the power anymore as the teacher or the publishing house of being the sole provider of the content. Since Web 1.0, we have access to the internet and content everywhere. So that is also critical, and then that's why we have this focus also on critical thinking and other skills that might be even more important for young people of today, where some people even say that content might be, or knowing might be obsolete, and the learning part is more important. You have to know how to learn, or learn how to learn, and these kind of skills. And so that brings me a little bit to your present venture. Please tell us why and how you co-founded Edulyzer, that you're now the CEO of, an EdTech startup that is a new venture. You took a very bold leap from a big industries to the EdTech startup industry, which is a big challenge. I just read somewhere, which I really agree with, something around that if you're a startup entrepreneur, you really have to be resilient. But if you're an EdTech startup entrepreneur, you really have to be much, much more resilient, because it's so much more challenging. And having been in the space for 10 years myself, I can say that, I am also starting to write about concepts that don't really apply to EdTech. But tell us why and how you started your EdTech journey now.
Okay. When I stopped working for Otava in the end of 2020, and I had a colleague of mine, the other co-founder, Tero, who has been working with me. We get together and thought that what should we do next, because we want to be somehow working with the learning and with the training industry. And the main thing is the young ones. I see that if you work with the young students, young pupils, then you can make an improvement for the whole system, how they see the world maybe, and what is their own belief for the future. And at the same time, the discussion went, of course, we didn't know on that time about the COVID, not so much, but the COVID was coming stronger and stronger, and it also meant that the digitalization of school and training came much more true. So we were thinking that, okay, at the same time, you can say that the school and what is the learning, it's not about numbers. It's not about are you staying at school or are you going away from school. It's more about how the whole system works. So every individual has a meaning. And then we had a lot of talks with scientists. So we were visiting Turku University, East Finland University, Helsinki University, and also with Oulu University. And we had a lot of great discussions with the researchers. And that was like a key, that they saw that there are certain methods how you can find the information from the players of or the actors of the school community. And after that, we decided, okay, this is the area where we want to go.
And how did you focus then? Because at some point a few years ago, there was a talks about, okay, we need insights, the learning analytics. And at some point then, when we had all of these data points, teachers didn't really know what to do with them. So there was a lot of information, but it didn't really help teachers to do anything about it for better learning. And you have in your mission to really help build school communities for better, let's say, well-being and better learning outcomes, and all these very important both soft skills and maybe harder skills. How did you identify your focus, and how did it start? And based on research also, how has it developed?
The one main idea was that we have noticed that it's not only how much time you spend with the learning content. It doesn't exactly tell you all that you have to know. The number itself that you get from the quick test or from the test, it's not exactly the main thing. It's like how you act with the content and what does it affect to your thinking. And then, okay, what can we do? First, we believe that if the whole community or society works well and they say that, okay, this is a safe place to be, I count on my friends and I count on my teachers and principal, so this is like the safe place to be and to be ready for the new things. So we wanted to make there an other aspect, not exactly the learning analytics that we have been talking like years. It's more about how the community works. And I can also open a little bit what we are doing if you want.
Please, yes.
So we started to create questions or questionnaires. Not exactly us, it was the researchers. So we had a lot of questions. We have now about 800 questions. And then there are questions for students, for teachers, for principals, and also for guardians. And we are asking them daily. So every day, one question. It takes less than 1 minute per student to answer the question. So it doesn't really take any big part of the day. But it gives us a continuously growing data about the school community. We ask, for example, how they feel in the school day, so about the feelings. We also ask questions about their well-being, how they see their own skills and how they see that they are managing in the school environment in areas of subjects, for example, how good they are in certain subjects, and how they see their own relationship with the teachers. And from the teachers, we ask, for example, how they see the working in a group, how they see their own possibilities to develop their own skills, and like, are they happy workers who see the future? And from the principals, quite the same from the teachers, but from the pedagogical leadership point of view. So you can see that, okay, in this time and this year, I think we should be ready for the much more future-oriented pedagogical leadership than before. And of course, we wanted to bring the guardians with the same discussion or in the same discussion, because we see that they also have to see how the school works. The school should be more transparent to the guardians, and then we can say that, okay, if they also feel that the school is a safe place to learn, it will help everyone. So this is a very, very short story.
And how do you relate that school community building to, let's say, the larger community, society in general, let's say municipality per municipality, but really to make sure that it's a safe place, but also very much connected to the everyday lives of the people also outside of school? Because many times young people of today don't see school as relevant for their future and their real life, because that's outside of school. So in your questions, do you have any connection to, let's say, the outside activities, free time activities, and how they see upon life outside of school as well?
Yes, we are not exactly asking what they do in different times per day, but we have questions for example how they see their own future. Do they believe that it's going to be a good one? We also asking them about their learning strategies, how much they are using time for learning, and what is the best for their own point of view. So we want to ask questions that they also feel that they are meaningful for them. And when we are, it's not just asking question, it should also be like a feedback. So when you are using the application, you can get feedback almost immediately when you have answers. So we can tell you, okay, if the question was about autonomy, for example, you can see that, okay, here's a description about what autonomy means and what you should see when you see the analyzed number there, and what does it really mean. And then there are some short guidance that you can read by yourself. So if your number is this, maybe you should concentrate a little bit for these kind of things. And then it gives you immediately some tools to practice yourself. And we believe that giving some positive feedback gives you more rely on your own feelings, and then you can go further and further. I think so. And so far everything has went well. So we started pilots a year ago, and now we have pilots going on in Finland, in Germany, in Estonia, in Spain, and in Sweden. And it's interesting to see how the world works, because we don't exactly need the same curriculum for every place. We need only the people who will act, so they are giving their own answers and their own feelings and opinions.
Yeah, so how do you connect that with, let's say, the curricula precisely? That might be different, but really, how do you motivate that this is needed because you don't know enough? Let's say you don't have the data that we might be able to contribute with. And then how do you transform that into, let's say, a systematic change in the learning and teaching process in the schools?
Yeah. To be honest, we are still on the beginning of our journey, but we have already known that when we are collecting the data, analyzing it, and then we are having a dashboard. So the dashboards are the tools for teachers and principals. They can see what is happening in the school environment. So it's quite easy to say, okay, in class level 7, so maybe like a 10 years old, we see that there are some people who works a little bit harder, or they might not feel as independent as the others, and maybe they don't feel that they belong to the group. So that will give a teacher something to work with. So we don't do the decisions for the schools. The school decide what they do. But of course we hope when we go further and we get more data that we can say, okay, these are like the practices that have been done in school environments, and these are the effects what they have done. So to improve these things, you can see that these things is happening or are happening. And the best possible help you can get from that if you are using that like continuously. So year by year, and then you can compare the different seasons or semesters or different years. And that will help you to see that, okay, this is how we can change the way where we put our forces. For example, and the school, if they want to, they can decide that, okay, this year we want to put our force to find the ways how to motivate the students. And then we can see, okay, can we see it on the numbers, and hopefully we can.
Yeah, and I think that you might actually be able to give recommendations more easily than they would actually understand what to look for. Yeah. My experience in the Hispanic world has a lot been that people don't know what they need or what they're looking for. They just want something, and they want you to tell them what it is. So give them a recommendation or a solution, and of course then they have to trust it and believe in it. And I think that transformation or that transition might take some time, and maybe you cannot even know what to recommend in the beginning. And when it comes to that, so that might be a future part of your offering. But right now, what, let's say, version of your product do you have? Is it 1.0? If you talk about the product development process as such, what, let's say, feedback from the users have you received that actually proves that it works in these different markets? And are there learning points that you still need to find to improve it?
Yeah, a lot of questions again, but to start somewhere, first is that we are gathering the data, and we will have data more and more every day. And this will be the key for the future findings. I think we have now worked together with a company who is specialized for analyzing the data, and they have already seen the correlations between some areas that we didn't saw by just by our own thoughts. So it's from the data, and that will help us in the future to see things. Maybe the AI will help us to analyzing the data, and we will see that in coming years. The other round, if you think about what is the best practices or what we have heard, so the very, very good feedback from one school who's a client, they say that, okay, we want to see the data that we have gathered from the dashboard to the parents or the guardians of the young ones who are coming to our school next year. It was like a 10 years old pupils. So they want to see that we are ready to open up how our school works, and this is the way how we will also welcome new students to join us. So we are open. We might not be in the perfect level in every area, but we are ready to do things for that.
And is that very adaptable? What, let's say, data the schools want to highlight and communicate? since it helps with so much information, is it easy for the schools to decide that this is what we want to communicate? For example, in Spain, there might be an issue with communicating the benefit of early childhood, as an example, to parents. Because parents, especially during the pandemic or after the pandemic, might feel that, there's no reason to put them back. And for the school then to communicate based on data that the well-being of the children is improving, or we have these data points that give us this kind of information. Can the school then decide on that, and how would that work?
Yeah, school can decide how they use the dashboards. Of course, the data what we are gathering, it's for the municipalities to use. So the schools can use, and then they can compare. Of course, you can't get individual students, individual answers and show those to anyone. It's not possible, because it's not important to see that. It's much more important how the society works. And it's also the GDPR that we have to take care of, that it's not too personalized info.
Yes.
We are
Yes, I was thinking about trends in general, let's say in municipalities, and based on schools, let's say local concerns.
Yeah, we also have seen that there have been some municipalities who have said from the highest level, from the municipalities who was responsible for the whole education, they see that, okay, we want to see how our municipality works. Do we have teachers enough? Have we put forces to right places? And can we learn something? So it's quite. I like those. They are open-hearted and open eyes. So it's a good one.
Yes. I think most educators want to do something good and improve. They might not know how, and that's where I think it's important to have this information to help them. Do you already have AI somehow integrated into your solution, or what's the plan with AI? I know you have that kind of thought, at least.
Yeah, we have thought that, and we have like a first thoughts how to use it, but so far we haven't not integrated it in. Of course, there are possibilities to use also the open text answers. We haven't used them a lot still, but when we will have like thousands of rows of text, it's much easier to analyze those with the AI. This is the first one. And then, of course, we want to use it to find, for example, different correlations if it's possible. But we will see. I think that the AI will also develop quite fast, and we are also learners on that side.
Yes, definitely. And what would be your, let's say, personal opinion when it comes to AI, pros and cons in general, and especially thinking that parents and school leaders and educators might be afraid of being replaced, or the big change, they have to learn so many new things. What would be your thoughts and maybe recommendations based on your personal opinion?
Yeah. My personal opinion is that when you are using AI, it's a great tool. But don't forget to think by yourself. I think that is the thing that I see it's very important. I also see that I recommend reading different kind of stories, books, audiobooks, whatever, to see how the world acts. Then you have like tools for building up your own mind, your own thinking, and then compare your own thinking about the results that you can get from the AI. If you are happy with them, use them. So I think that's how you use tools.
Okay, and related to that, I read an article recently that a publisher actually distributed about the fake AI possibilities, or the possibilities of AI, advanced AI, to even manipulate videos, so that everything online can be manipulated, so you don't really know, is there a human actually behind it, that you would need to certify it or verify it as a human, that this is my verified video, and that might actually be an opportunity back for publishers to have the printed material as the safest certified material when it comes to content. So if we try to look back to the role of content now and the publisher's role, what are your thoughts around that?
I don't know exactly. I see that the development process will go that when the AI has came about less than a year ago, to the public discussion. I think that the next coming 2 years are going to be like a rapid development of AI, and after that there are critical wing will come and say that okay, this is too much, and then we will find something new. I'm quite sure about that, but I don't know what will happen to different areas. But if we look back to history, there has always been possibilities to use for the wrong different information for the wrong purposes. So it's not a new thing. You have only new use for that also.
Okay, so what are your plans now for the future this year, so to say, and what would be your invitation to Spanish and English-speaking schools, school leaders, community leaders right now, and maybe later on? What are your plans after the summer?
I think that the main message is that be curious about what is happening in the school classrooms and in the whole school society. So I think that we are still going forward and from the learning some subjects and trying to have a very good number from certain area. It's not important anymore. It's more like how you act in a classroom, how you can find your way to go forward. So and for that you might need information. For example, that kind of information that we are collecting via Edulyzer, and then you can put your own thinking and this data and see how could you be offering the best possible environment for learning and teaching, of course.
Okay, so is it edulyzer.com? Can you summarize your offering to the public?
Yeah, please go to edulyzer.com and find the way how we are collecting or gathering the data, how we are analyzing it, and how we are putting it on the dashboard. And there are also contact information, so you will find me from that side.
Fantastic. And I wanted to ask if there's anything else that you would like people to recommend when it comes to resources or other projects that you're involved with.
Maybe I can just say that now I also working for the Worlddidac Association, and it's the association that works for the different educational players and companies and helping them to find networks to work together and be on worldwide educational world. So it's more like being together and work all over the world for the same purposes, find the best ways to educate young ones and change the world a little bit. You can find that also.
Fantastic, Teuvo. So thank you so much, and I really hope to be able to continue following your story and somehow contribute also to helping to build better school communities, especially now when we are in a chaotic technical and digital world. We need to understand better the data that is everywhere and also focus more on the pedagogical well-being as you have in your mission. And I think that you also have it very right when you have it through collaboration, cooperation, and on a community level. So thank you very much, Teuvo, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you,
point.
Joni. That was a great possibility.